wonder if I should change what I got in the back, like, often. If that'd be more interesting with you guys. So this is so weird. Like, I prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed. Well, I think God wants me to pray before we get started. God, please let me don't screw up this episode, and let it reach people accordingly, and keep me humble so I don't swallow my foot. Thank you for everything. Amen. Okay, so you have to understand that I went hunting for the gift of miracles so I could heal my parents, which hasn't happened yet, which is really, really weird. But I'm not gonna get frustrated until I've tried to heal 240 people. I've done 56 so far. And I thought it'd be wise to do a debriefing because I'm very scientific and video gamey about this. If there is a God and he loves you, that means he's communicative and responsive and reliable. And if he's reliable, we can build a relationship. And if we build a relationship, then that means there's good ways to build the relationships. And if there's good ways to build a relationship, then there should be good ways for me to grow my prophetic and gifty skills. You know, it's interesting. Oh, ow. What's interesting about when you get a gift is you don't realize you've got it. It's kind of like being a genius. Like, you ever met somebody who thinks people are really dumb? Something I'll often say to them is, it's not that other people are dumb, it's that you're really smart. And because you're so smart and being smart is easy, it looks like people are dumb, but you're just brilliant. Goku doesn't get mad at other people because they're not Saiyans, right? And if you're not familiar with Dragon Ball Z, I'm basically saying, if you're a healthy adult, you don't get angry at children because they can't keep up with you. I had one friend who was always upset about people, and I said, you ever competed in a scientific contest? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, so you can do math really well? And he said, yeah, I can multiply 4-digit numbers in my head. And I was like, yeah, normal people can't do that. I had another friend who was so good at intuition, he knew what people were going to say before they said it. Like, he could just kind of see ahead 45 minutes, and conversations were really boring for him. And I had to tell him, I was like, you know, hey, normal people can't do that. Like, I'm sorry. And it's the same with me. People are like, oh, why are you always so patient with everyone? I'm like, because it's not their job to have the same gifts I do. I like playing life on hard mode. If someone comes up to me and is screaming in my face, I try my best to win the situation, not throw down. And that's what made me a good bouncer when I worked at a bar, is I could calm everyone down by talking. One time I accidentally bumped into someone and he got really mad at me, and he's like, you know, what the heck do you think you're doing? Although he used bad words. And I was like, what do you mean, what am I doing? He's like, why are you bumping into me? I'm like, how do you know I'm bumping into you? Maybe I just want to be handsome like you. You're a handsome looking guy. What are you doing here being all handsome? How am I supposed to compete with you? I can't compete with that. Look at me looking all normal and you looking all fancy. And he just like, that was the end. He went from like bitter and angry. I filled up his tank with agape. And if you don't know what agape is one of the 3 loves in the Bible. There's friendship, family, and unconditional positive love. Agape, storge, philia. And he starts to smile, and then I say the next thing that every guy up in a bar wants to hear is, you met any girls tonight? Let's go meet some girls. And he's like, oh yeah, sure. And so I found a pretty stranger and was like, hey, have you met John? And he's like, my name's not John. I'm like, Brad? He's like, my name's not Brad. I'm like, what's your name? He's like, have you met, this is Sasha. And she's like, that's not my name. And I just played it up. Where was I going with that? Sorry, I like to storytell. Man, where was I going with that? Love and stuff. I wonder if people want a more direct approach. Anyways, I thought a debriefing episode would be good. And this is my plan, just so you know. My plan is to demonstrate that the gift of healing is real, which then proves the existence of God and heaven and Jesus. Because this is what I tell people. When they ask me, why are you Christian? And I say, well, I go up to Muslims and I say, hey, you ever see any miracles with your missionaries and, your churches? And they'll say, not really. Us Buddhists, the same thing, and Taoists, and even witches, or Satanists, they'll see something. People in witchcraft have done little things. And I'll ask all these other groups, what are they in India? It escapes me right now. Anyways, Christianity is the only one where our missionaries go out. They almost always have a story. Oh, this person got healed. This person got healed. This person got healed. We saw these lights. We sang in tongues. There were all these emergencies that suddenly worked out. Christianity is the only, I don't like to use the word religion because that assumes it exists by faith, but Christianity is real. So it's more like what comes before science is creation. Science is an aspect of creation. Christianity is the only one where miracles happen. So if I can show you guys miracles, hopefully that'll be reason for you to believe in Jesus, and that will make your lives better. And that's my point. Oh yeah, so what one of my goals is I noticed that people like YouTube videos like Mr. Beast, or That Was Epic, where these guys will go and like just give money to strangers, and people like watching that, so they'll donate and they'll go and give more money to more strangers or pay people's rent or stuff like that. And I thought I could do the same thing, but I could fly around the country and the world and heal people. And if enough people subscribe to my channels and or donate, I could do that often, and I could do that live or record it. And I could make that my life, because that's what I would like to do. I would like to do ministry full-time. Right now I have a full-time job, and I'm also trying to be a writer. I like writing sci-fi and fantasy. I'd have a manga in the works. But yeah, because then because how cool would that be? It's like watching Joshua / PaladinOne. That's what I go by. My name is Joshua. My website is www.hyperlight.news. So hyperlight.news. And that's kind of where we get all the information and just talk about what's going on. And I just share a lot. And then the missionary movement I have it's called the Paladin Corps, which is just people that want to actualize Christianity and really attune themselves to it. People who want to keep the commandments, not just kind of like be a fair weather friend to Christianity. Because when you dedicate yourself to following the morals that you know to be true in your heart, and following the ones that come true in your heart as you have a relationship with heaven, a lot of options open up to you that weren't open before, like tithing, for example. I didn't even really know what to think about tithing until I was 26, and a pastor who I love and trust said once in a sermon, if you don't tithe, God puts a small hole in your pocket. And I had always had a problem where money would just kind of slip through my fingers, and I couldn't figure out why. Just no matter what I did, like money would just like rhythmically and in a timely fashion just vanish. So once I started tithing, that all stopped. I remember there was one time, I think for 3 years, I didn't have to buy groceries. Just there was always someone bringing groceries. Or was it when I was dating when I was dating in college? Anytime I felt I was hungry, all of a sudden the girl I was dating would call and be like, "Hey, do you want to go out to eat?" And I'd be like, cool. But after a while, I remember one time I was like, okay, today I'm going to work on my books. And then I was like, man, I'm hungry. Oh no. And then my phone rang. I was like, no. And she's like, hey, do you want to get some food? And of course you want to get food with the girl you're dating. But yeah, so I've been healing a lot at work, and I'm not really in a position to record it. I'm going to try going by the college campus and seeing if people will let me record there. I need to order a sign. And then from there, I will try going to maybe I'll go by the college campus tomorrow, just do a dry run, see if people need prayer. I think it's better with a sign though. What was I gonna say? But I wanted to do a debriefing. So here's the 50 times I've tried to use my gift, and we'll talk about what happened. Okay, so the first time, debriefing, right? Like in the military, once the agent has come back, break it down. What happened? How'd it go? How'd it turn out? First time was a close friend. She got bit by an animal, and I tried to heal the wound. I prayed, and nothing happened. And then another friend had, I talked about this one earlier. A wife of a friend had spine issues because she was in band and she carried heavy instruments. And so by that time I had tried the gift a few times on a few friends, like the bite and a couple other things that I'm not mentioning because there's privacy involved. So I was getting disheartened, but I remembered something a pastor said who had the gift of prophecy, and he said, heal 240 times and tell me it doesn't work. Which is interesting because 240 would be 8, 12. That'd be 40 times 3, so that'd be like an amount of process of suffering times God on a big way. Or that would be 2 groups of 12 2? I like 40 times 3 though. That's really good. Anyways, so I'm trying to get to 240. So I prayed for this girl, and I kept my hands about this far apart because earlier I was giving her a back massage, and she said she was saying ow, and I barely touched her, like feather touched her, like just a little bit of pressure, and she's like ow, ow. And I was like, whoa, okay, well let me pray for you. And so my hands are like this far, and I'm praying and I'm praying and praying, and she goes, when I was done, and I asked, does anything feel different? And she went, no. And I was like, well, I tried. And she goes, but your hands felt really hot. It's like, well, that's interesting, because I hear that phrase sometimes. I'm like, and my hands are way too far to feel heat in the manner she was inflecting, because her inflection implied like strong heat. I was like, I poked her back, and she didn't feel pain. And before it was like, ow. And if I pressed like even a little bit, I'd get like a really loud ow. And if I pressed even harder, she'd start crying. And I was like, go lay down on my bed, because her back problems were keeping her from sleeping. And she's like, she came back, she's like, I don't feel anything at all. Like, it doesn't hurt at all. And so I like poked her back really hard, and yeah, she didn't feel much at all. And I was like, wow, finally did it. So that really encouraged me to keep trying, go for the 240. So then I tried it for a friend, and he was born in his legs and his feet, instead of being straight, his legs are kind of like out like this. And so I tried praying for him, and this was at work. And so I tried, and nothing happened. And so at this point, I'm thinking that the gift is used to relieve suffering. And I think at a certain point, I'll be able to kind of heal anything. But right now it heals suffering. And I'm also thinking I need to get the church part of this running. So I have Hyperlight News, which is like Christian news / my podcast / just where you can go for all things involving what I want to do. And then the name of my church is, I guess the name of my movement is the Paladin Corps. And the name of my church is Hyperlight News. Maybe I'll say it that way. The name of my missionary team is the Paladin Corps. Okay, that'll work. Missionary group, Paladin Corps. Church is Hyperlight News. So I think I have to have the church running. I think that'll help boisterate, because the pastor said God needs to be there. And I don't know any other ways God can be there. I tried again for my friend on something, and that didn't happen. So at this point I was a little upset again, but I got to get to 240. And I was telling a friend that I have the gift now, and she's like, that's really cool. And I really thought she was going to give me, this is an Ecuadorian friend that I have at work. And I really thought she was going to give me flack. But it turned out something fell on her at work, and she got a small burn on her wrist. And she goes, can you pray for my burn? And I thought it was kind of silly at first, but I was like, well, this is kind of what I want to do anyway. And I was like, why would God just do a burn? It seems silly, but I was like, okay. And so I prayed for her really quick, because the burn was itching a lot. And I was like, well, that's still something. And I prayed, and I'm like, well, do you feel anything? And she goes, not really, but it felt like someone put a cold compress on it, like a cold cloth. And I was like, well, that's something. That's kind of cool. And I was like, anything else? And she goes, well, it doesn't itch anymore. I was like, okay, that's cool. And I found out a week later, I asked her how it is, and she's like, it's gone. I was like, what? Burns leave scars. And she's like, yeah, but it's gone. And she pulled her sleeve down where the burn was, and it was gone. I was like, what? That's really crazy, because like I saw the burn, and now it's like a perfectly normal wrist. And I was like, wow, that's okay. Okay. Okay, so then I have another friend at work, and she had spine issues, and like a lot of them, like a lot of back and spine, and she's like, yeah, when I get older, I'm gonna have to be in the hospital a lot. And I was like, well, can I pray for you real quick? And we kept trying to get together, and finally, oh my gosh, this fan is, hang on. Oh my gosh, okay, that fan was causing me to cough. I should probably clean the blades. So I prayed for her, and same thing, my hands were like this far away, and I'm praying, and she goes, and the weird thing is, my gift of faith and my gift of wisdom are kind of always on, and I have always known that, just because I pick up things faster than everyone. I can just look at people and I'll know like a lot of little things. But when I pray for people to heal, there's not like a superpower that rushes through me. A lot of times I'll just like pray and pray, and they'll be like, did anything change? And I'll pray. I'll be like, did anything change? And pray. Like, and they'll say, sure. And I'll be like, well, I didn't feel anything, but great. Oh, I need to buy throat lozenges. God, maybe I'll go to the gas station and buy some stuff. Okay. What time is it? It's like midnight? Yeah, it's midnight. Okay, there we are. And so she said, I realized what you were talking about. I was like, really, what? She's like, I felt like a cold heat running through my back. And I was like, cool. And one of the things I started to learn after her is that we're really used to the pain, and when the pain is gone, we don't notice, because that's kind of our normal state of being, is we don't want to be in pain. So it's just, you don't really think about it. Okay. This just makes it so real, you know, like, I'm not just imagining this. It's not a dream. Like, talking about it just makes it so, like, I can feel God kind of like making paper with his hands. Like, you know, you're writing a pen, I'm making the paper, putting this together. So another friend at work got bit, and the dog pierced his hand, and so there was nerve damage, and he was like, well, I can't go into the military reserves now, so this really sucks, because I wanted to do some military work. And I was like, well, you know, let me pray for you. And this kid was like everywhere. He was like bouncing off the walls, hyper. And I was like, man, you need to calm down. And he'd tell me, well, you know, it's really hard. I have ADD. I don't sleep. I've never been able to sleep for a full night. And so we went and got McDonald's. And I was like, all right, give me your hand. And I like held his hand between mine. I started praying. And I think I prayed for his knee. And I prayed for his ability to sleep. And I prayed for his hand. And I think like one other thing. And then I went, okay, so anything feel different? And he goes, nope, nothing feels different at all. Okay, well, I tried. You know, it's not gonna work every time. And then he texts me 2 days later, and he's like, cuss word, cuss word, cuss word. And he's like, what did you do to me? And I was like, what? And he sent me a picture of his hand, and the wound had closed up. And he's like, I have full function in my hand now. My knee no longer hurts. It's always hurt. And for the first time in my entire life, I am sleeping through the night like a baby. And it was crazy at work, because all of a sudden he went from this hyper radical ADD kid to just calm and collected. And we had a talk too. I was like, no porn, get your sleep, pray. You need to pray for the things you want in your day. Give me a good day, God. Give me a calm day. Make good choices. I had another friend. She had kind of like minor arthritis in her hands, but she didn't really care, which was weird. So I tried praying for her and nothing happened. But she's like, but I don't really care. So something might have changed, but I didn't really follow up, because she was really like, I don't really care. And if somebody's kind of blowing me off, I don't want to be pushy, especially at where I work. So I told one of my friends at work, another friend, and I really wish I could give you guys names, but all I would be doing is making up names. So he's like, fine, you can do this thing. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, pray for my foot. And I could tell he like didn't believe it, but he was like, if this is real, I'm going to challenge it, which I was grateful for. Mexicans are really good at that. Like, they're like, I think because I'm half Mexican. So many of us have been raised with like a little bit of Catholicism, that this isn't so weird that we won't try it out. The people that have been raised with no religion are pretty chill. The people who have been raised with religion tend to be chill. But there's this weird in-between where some people are just really like, no, 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 no. And I get it, but like the Star Trek / scientist in me would always want to be like, try. Especially if I wasn't religious, I'd be like, sure, whatever. Okay, so he was in a motorcycle accident and his foot had hurt for like 7 years. And I was like, okay, so I got like this far from his foot. I didn't want to put my hands on his foot at work, because if I'm getting close, they'll be like, oh, that guy's just being goofy or praying. You know, we're not going to bother with them. If I'm touching someone, they're going to be like, well, what's going on? You know, do we need to address this? So I prayed for his foot, and I asked him, you know, did anything change? Does it feel a little bit better? And he goes, doesn't feel as bad. And it could just be in my head. And I was like, all right, well, let's do it again. Prayed for his foot again. What about now? He's like, that's a little better. I'm like, all right, one more time. Third time's charm. Pray again. And he moves it around. He's like, huh. I'm like, do you find any pain at all? And he's like, no. It's all gone. And I was like, I told you, God's real. And he goes, yeah, okay. I'm like, yeah, you can no longer say God isn't real. And he's like, no. I'm like, people come up and they're like, I don't know if I believe in God. And now you're going to have to say, well, there's this one guy at work, prayed for my foot. Foot don't hurt no more. So then I had another friend and I was really kind of scared. I was like, oh man, what if I pray for this guy and nothing happens? And then I was like, what if I don't pray for him and nothing happens? At least something might happen. At least that way I'm not a coward. Like I didn't get a gift not to work it. Cause you feel these feelings, like a lot of bravery is pushing your fear to the back. And sometimes your fear needs to talk to you and you need to reconcile it. I was like, hey man, just so you know, and this is what I say, hey man, just so you know, I do missionary work, and my buddies will be like, yeah, what about it? And I go, well, sometimes when I pray for people, starting a couple months ago, they get healed. So I'd like to pray for you, and we'll see what happens. And they're like, as you can see more of me, and I'm just making it worse, aren't I? And he was like, yeah, sure. So I find them outside of lunch and I don't really get the opportunity. And then I go out during break because we get 2 30-minute breaks. And I interrupt him like, hey, let me pray for you real quick. What's up? Your feet and your knees and I think something else like his back. And so I pray for his knees. And I'm like, how do they feel? And he's like, I don't feel anything at all. And I thought he was mad at me. I was like, oh, well, I guess I didn't do it. Okay. I was like, okay, well, I'm sorry. He's like, no, that's great. And I was like, it's great not to feel anything. And he goes, yeah, I've been in pain my whole life because he's really tall. I was like, how bad? And he goes, on a scale of 1 to 10? And I was like, yeah. He's like, 9.97. Oh, he's like, yeah, I'm either always on medication or always on medication. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, why is that? And he's like, well, my feet are at an angle, so it messes at my knees. Okay, so I pray for his feet. I go, any change on your feet? And he goes, nope. I'm like, oh, well. And so I'm trying to get voice recordings for evidence, just so people can more further know this isn't my imagination. And I'm like, so, I'm getting a little bit better on healing bones and stuff. You want me to pray for your feet? And he goes, no, I'm fine. I was like, I thought your feet are crooked. And he goes, no, not since you prayed for me. They moved. I was like, oh my goodness, wow. Just wow. Okay. I did, who is that? I don't remember this person. Apparently I did someone else's foot. It took 2 rounds. Who is that? I don't remember that name. Oh well. I had another friend. I prayed for her foot. She didn't really believe it, but then I was like, how's it feeling? She goes, wow, it actually feels a little bit less. I was like, what about now? She's like, I can barely feel it at all. I was like, well, let's do one more round. She's like, no. Okay, no, it is. I did some stuff with an earlier friend who had the spine issues. I don't know that anything changed. No, I think it did. I think she had a foot problem and it went down a little bit. Oh, I have that one on there twice. That's not good. I tried a friend who had cerebral palsy, and where did that go? There it is. And I asked him if anything changed. He said he felt like his legs were stronger. And then I tried again and he said nothing changed, but it seems like he's moving faster and a bit taller. I wanted to do a few more rounds, but I felt like I was pushing him. So I kind of just let it go. I had a friend with problems. He has to wear a cane, use a cane. I tried praying for him. Nothing happened. So I want to try again because that was frustrating. I really hoped that it'd just be like, go in and you could just immediately like heal the blind and heal the people in wheelchairs and make the, you know, lame walk and the blind free, and oh well. So nothing happened there, but I told him the moment I did, I'd try again. One of my friends has a metal allergy, which is bad because he wants to be a welder. We tried healing that. It didn't work. I want to try again because I have healed someone's allergy before. Did I put them down? I guess I forgot to put them down. One of my friends went to Iraq, and he had nerve damage and knee damage, and he has bad eyesight. And so I sat him down and I prayed over everything one at a time, and we got rid of the nerve damage. And he said it felt like lightning was always like up and down his leg. And so we did 2 rounds of praying and he couldn't find it anymore. And he was just like, wow, I thought I was gonna live with that the rest of my life. And I was like, there you go. And then we did the back and the knee, and he was like, I can't believe it. And then I was like, okay, time for the big one now. And I prayed for his eyesight because he could barely read a clock like a foot in front of him, like an oven clock. And then after that, he could read across the room, from the kitchen all the way to the living room. He could read the clock on the TV. Now, what sucks though is I had another friend at work who was legally blind, and even though I prayed for him, nothing happened. So I'm not sure, because I can't really press people at work and be like, are you straight with Jesus? Are you doing witchcraft? Have you done witchcraft? You know, are you cheating on your wife? Is there... So I usually tell people, okay, so it seems like nothing worked, but I'm going to keep at it, and if I make progress, I'll come back. You know, is that okay? And usually they're like, yeah, sure. A really good friend of mine, a really, really good friend, he was involved in ministry too. He had high blood pressure, knee problems, back problems, really high blood pressure apparently. And he said he had some past that he was really like bothered him and kept creeping up on him. So I prayed for his body 3 times, and he said he felt everything go down and go away. And then there was just spiritual warfare all around this guy. Like I felt 3 different tiers of demons. And what I want to say is this is still very new to me. So as much as I know I'm on the right path according to God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, that doesn't mean I won't make a fool out of myself once or twice, because I have a very active, fantastical imagination, and God lets me run around with that. But that doesn't mean everything I anticipate is happening. But I refuse to sit down and shut up, because I learn very quickly through failure. I'm totally okay failing and learning. When I was in art school, I would tell people like, you can learn 1,000 things through the course of a failure. So like when I'm doing an art piece, I had a rule that I would always finish it. And a lot of my artist classmates would start over and be like, what are you doing? And they're like, well, I start over, I don't like it. Like, you have to see it through. You're gonna learn 1,000 things seeing through a bad project. You're gonna learn like 1 to 3 things doing something you're already good at. Learn what you're bad at and learn why you're bad at it. What's the phrase? Fail faster. But he was good after that. So we rebuked, because remember, the purpose of the church is to do these 3 things. You spread the good news, which is, you know, Jesus is love, God's love, heaven is forever. You know, it's basically Jesus loves us is the good news. Jesus loves us, we can reconnect with heaven. You heal the sick, thus helping demonstrate your authority within the realm of heaven, and helping to embrace and encourage the people who've been hurt. And then you drive the demonic out. It's set the captives free, or make the lame to walk. you have to rebuke the demonic that's on people. And when you do that, you need to be very calm and soft about it, because demonic warfare is not something you just enter without being very careful. I usually take my time and do it very kindly, because, ugh. Lady at work. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I did my friend's mom. She had a knee and a foot issue, which was really funny because, so I healed her daughter. I didn't even know they were related. Her daughter had spine issues. She's like, oh, my neck really hurts. It's always really hurt. Can you pray for that real quick? I was like, yeah, cool. 15 seconds. And she goes, oh my goodness, this thing's hurt for like 5 years. I was like, glad I can help. And then, her mom goes, hey, can you pray for my knee and my foot? I'm like, sure. How's it feel? She's like, cool, no more pain. And she's just just went back to work as if it was nothing. I'm just like, I love Catholics. People that raise Catholic are usually just like, can you pray for me? Like, yeah, okay, cool, bye. Like, it's just like, it's nothing. I knew there are people out there that could do this. I'm just glad I met you. Like, oh, okay, great. I tried praying for one of my best friends because she gets migraines, and nothing. Although I couldn't check on her a day later. No, I did. I checked on her 2 weeks later. She said nothing, which sucked. I really hope to get rid of her migraines. Okay, I've probably told this story before, but God, when he was asking me what I want for Christmas, I said it'd be cool to do a Christmas miracle, in the spirit of me being silly and liking stories and fiction. So I've told this story quite a few times. There's this woman at the theater I went to in Austin, and she was in a walker and moving like 1 foot per minute. Like, it was really like slow. And her feet were so swollen. They were like this big. Like, if my hand is this big, it was like twice, at least 1.5 to 2 feet as wide and purple and ugly. And it was like, and I'm not saying ugly to be mean, I'm saying ugly to be realistic. Like, this isn't a game. Like, this is what you're getting into. And so I had this really bad headache too, which is funny. And I was like, I'm not going to do this. I have a really bad headache. And I felt God like reach into my brain. And then all of a sudden I didn't have a headache. And I was like, fine. So I waited until she sat down with her sister. And I went up and I had a Overwatch backpack, like the video game Overwatch on. And I had a Lilo and Stitch Santa hat. It was like, it had the Stitch ears. It was a Santa hat with the Stitch ears. And I knelt down by the sister and I was like, hey, so I'm a missionary. And I waited for her to process that. She goes, oh. And I was like, and sometimes when I pray for people, they get healed. She's like, oh, wow. I was like, do you want me to pray for your sister? And she goes, yeah. I was like, what's your name? What's going on? So I put my hand on her shoulder and her knee, and I start praying and praying and praying and praying and praying and praying. I'm getting nervous because nothing's happening, and I'm praying and praying and praying and praying and praying. And I also don't know if there's like a format I'm supposed to pray, like rebuke the pain, or in the name of Jesus Christ, I command the joints to joint correctly as joints ought to. Like, I don't know all the anatomy. Blah. I rebuke the demonic. I start running out of things to say, so I just revert into being me. And I was like, Jesus, if you're not here and not showing up, it sure wouldn't look good. And then people might say that, Jesus, you're just not cool. And what would that be? Because you didn't show up to heal my friend. And I don't know what to say to him, because I was saying you were awesome and you weren't being awesome. And I don't know how I'd be at fault during that if you're not going to be being awesome and the God we know. So just saying. I try to say enough to be silly but not struck by lightning. But I feel this whirlwind of Holy Spirit power around me, God power. Like I'm a little tornado that's not a tornado, but like, the spiral energy of creation. And I watch her foot just start to unswell and then go from purple to a fleshly yellow. And that was a big one. That one was like, well, I guess I'm in it now. I guess, like, I can't deny that I have this gift. It's no longer psychosomatic. And it goes from, you know, purple to a normal fleshly, you know, cream color. I was like, how do you feel? And she goes, well, I can walk again. I was like, cool. Can you find any pain? And she said, nope. I was like, okay, bye. And I went to go watch, what was I watching? Spider-Man 3. I healed a friend's arthritis, but he is into ghost hunting, which is kind of a type of witchcraft, and you don't want to do that. A friend of mine healed a lady who was in a wheelchair, but then she, like, got back into divination, and her legs started to not be awesome anymore. Like, I prayed for a stranger at work in a wheelchair. He had spine injury from a car accident. Didn't work, unfortunately. So I told him I'd try again once I had more progress. So I really want to try again, but I need to, you just always have to be so careful approaching people at work. So I had a friend with back issues, and she said she'd been in a couple accidents and been to the chiropractor quite a bit. And it was funny because even watching it, like, I could see that her breathing was constricted, and if she turned the wrong way, I could see her, like, flinch in pain. She'd be like, oh, like shocks of pain would go through her. And I was like, all right, let me stand. And I prayed, and by this point, I've been a little bit more comfortable being me. I was like, I'm going to pray like I think I should pray, and hopefully that'll work. And so after I'm done praying for her, she turns, and she goes, yeah, just anytime I turn it, whoa, I have some range. Like, it still hurts in the far range. And I was like, oh, let's do round 2. I was like, how do you feel now? And she's like, oh my God, like 2 years of never, and all of a sudden now I can, wow. I was like, yep, I need to change this. My iPad keeps going to sleep, and I'm getting tired of it. Low power mode, turn off. Thank you. Okay. Who is that? Okay, well, someone else's foot. I remember that. I was just in the middle of everyone. I was like, come over here real quick. And I just kind of, like, put my hands, and I'm pretty sure people are noticing, but no one's really saying anything. One friend had, one lady at work had carpal tunnel really bad, so I prayed for her. But she said she was wearing gloves, so she couldn't really tell. So I was happy that I tried. So there's one paladin in the Paladin Corps besides myself. A buddy of mine who was like, whatever you do, Josh, I want to be a part of it. And so, and it was funny because people would make fun of me for being a Christian, you know, like, you know, I don't, or I do my, the only times I've watched porn or when I trip over it, like, I make an active attempt to never watch it. You know, I don't lie, I don't steal. I serve only God. I honor my parents. I do my best to live according to God's commandments. And so people would make fun of me for that. And he was like, no, you don't understand. Josh might be a wizard later, and I want to be a wizard. I was like, okay. So when I got the gifts, he's like, I want them. I was like, okay, well, you're going to have to change your life. He's like, I don't care. I'll do whatever I have to. I want them. And he's like, do I need to do, like, mushrooms or acid? I was like, no, you just pray to God. You don't do mushrooms or acid. So I walked him through what a Christian was, what the commandments were, what God wanted us from. And then at the end, I, prayed that he'd have the gifts. And he said it was interesting. It felt like he suddenly did like 100 really tough crunches, like his stomach was really tight. He also had stomach issues, like his stomach was sensitive to a lot of foods. It would give him like tummy aches. And he said he hadn't had any since then. My friend's mom couldn't like lift one of her arms, it would go numb. And if she lifted this arm would go numb, and she could barely lift it up. And so we like drove 5 hours to go see her. We like rented a car, made a day out of it, and prayed, and she got a little bit of range, and I was like, all right, let's keep going. We prayed again, got a little more range, and we prayed again, and got a little more range, and prayed again, and got a little more range. And we didn't heal or anything. She had, her spine is curved a bit, and that wouldn't change. I don't know why, but we got some range into it, so that was worth it. And then we went and prayed for my friend's grandma, because she was on oxygen for most of the day, because she's getting up there in years. And I prayed with her for like a good 15 minutes. And God-fearing women are seriously something else. I was like, so can I pray for you? She was like, absolutely. I was like, oh, okay. So she sat down and she grabbed both of my hands. Like, wonderful, wonderful Southern woman. Oh my God. And we just prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed. And, you know, I prayed over everything 3 times. And it's like, you tell me. And then I texted her the next day. I'm like, hey, how is it? And she's like, I only needed like 30 minutes of oxygen today. I was like, wow, only you went from like the whole day to 30 minutes? She went, yep. I was like, wow. Prayed for her husband too. Seemed to be doing all right. Prayed for a friend at work. I don't remember what was wrong with him, but he said nothing changed, but he was grateful. He said he always feels good after someone prays for him. So that made me happy. I didn't really check up with him the next day. I probably could have. I prayed for my 2 best friends. One had... something was wrong with him. I don't remember what it was. Oh yeah, he's really sensitive to dairy. To anything cow. He's allergic to everything cow. Beef, dairy, cheese. Yeah. I'm like, he's allergic to cow. And people are like, so beef? I'm like, beef and dairy. I'm like, so ice cream? Yes. Cheese? Yes. Although you can use goat cheese. Goat cheese is very good. And then my friend had my other best friend had a thyroid issue, and prayed for that. Nothing. Although I should double check with him. So that was disappointing. I prayed for my parents. Did I even write that down? Yeah, I did. Nothing. Prayed for them each day for like a week. Nothing. That one really hit me hard, but I was like, don't give up. Get to 240 and then we'll figure something out. Who is that? Something from work? Oh, yeah. So there's this one kind of really cranky guy at work, like always really cranky and upset. And he had a knee problem. And I was like, hey, can I pray for your knee? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. It turns out he's like a legit Christian, which was really weird because he was always like a real tough guy, real cranky and gruff and, you know, kind of bitter at everything. And then once we healed his knee, he's like a different person. He's kind of happy and calm and collected and okay. And he's like, no, yeah, I believe in God. I'm like, okay. A girl had a swollen finger. I was praying for her and kind of walking her through God because she'd have if you've had a bad life, you need to pray a lot. Like a lot of people try to get out of their own depression and their own insecurities and anxiety. You need to pray. You're not going to get through it just by yourself or just with your family. You need prayer. You need the Holy Spirit and heaven to kind of weave reality for you and through you so you can get a good grip on the fabric of, you know, space and time. Stiff bones. Comic book guy. Oh, yeah. There's a guy at work. His body was really stiff and everything. And I prayed and he said, oh, it's just all in my head. But then he kind of laughed. He's like, man, no, this really feels good. He said it came back, but I think he's into porn. So yeah, and to be clear, because I think people are going to wonder this, it's one thing to trip over porn. It's another thing to be like, whatever. If you're the whatever, like God's really going to be like, okay, well, I need to rein you in. If you trip over it, there's going to be more mercy. So one of my friends wasn't, I don't think she was Christian. I think she was brought up like Catholic, but she didn't really like subscribe to it. And she goes, hey, can you do your thing for me? And I'm like, sure, what's wrong? And she goes, I got snot and shit. And I was like, okay. I said, dear God, please hear my friend's snot and shoot. And then she like tries to inhale and she's like, wow, that really worked. Like, yep, it did. Oh yeah, same thing with another friend. He said he used to do missionary work. And he's like, yeah, just my sinuses are all messed up and my throat's really itchy and I have this cough and I'm getting sick. I was like, let me try my thing. And he's like, all right. So I do it. And then he takes a deep sip. And he's like, oh my goodness. And he like has this joy. He's like, just like he's trying to shake it off. He's like, I don't believe this. And I'm like, well, neither do I sometimes. One of the supervisors at work had a lower back problem and a knee problem. And we prayed for the knee and it was fine. And then another day she was complaining about her back. And I was like, why didn't you ask me? And she's like, well, it's just a small thing. I was like, let's try it. And it went away. So she was impressed. She's like, oh. There's a girl at work and she had a spine problem. Her spine had always hurt her. And I was like, well, can I try? And she's like, sure. And so I prayed for her spine. And she's like, well, it still hurts. And I was like, well, let's give it 5 minutes and I'll come back. And she's like, okay. And 5 minutes later, I was like, does it hurt? And she's like, nope, not at all. I prayed for another guy's spine at work. I'll have to talk to him when I get to see him again. Another coworker has flat feet, and so he said they always hurt. And I was like, you want me to give it a shot? Like, I'm a missionary. When I pray for people, it tends to heal. Like, I'm not pushing anything on you, man. I'm not. But I told myself if I ever get a superpower, I'm going to act like a superhero. Like, I'm going to offer it. I'm not trying to change you or anything. I got a gift. I told myself I get the gift. I'm not going to keep it to myself. Because that bothers me. It bothers me when I find out people have a gift of prophecy or healing. I'm like, man, don't gotta show that stuff off, but like treat people. If you have the gift of prophecy, people want to know. So I prayed for his feet. I'm like, yeah, they feel different at all? And he goes, I don't know, like a little bit maybe. I was like, let's try again. Let's try at least 3 times. I was like, all right. How do they feel now? I feel a little bit different. I'm like, you find the pain? He's like, yeah. All right, one more time. What about now? He's like, I don't feel any pain. I was like, for sure? He's like, it's all gone. Like, can you find it? No. Cool. I prayed for another guy. He was real resistant, because it's interesting how people go, because they go really resistant. Like, I don't want Christian voodoo, crystal, candle, but the way I'm really authentic when I talk, and I feel that helps. And he's just like, yeah, okay, sure. I was like, just one real quick, like 90 seconds. And he goes, one of his knees felt really a lot better, and one of his knees still wasn't. So I have a feeling we're going to talk about porn, because I could tell he was kind of like a do whatever sort of guy. And God kind of wants to always like rope you into his kingdom because he loves you. And then there was this really sweet lady at work. She was sitting down and I was like, what's wrong? And she goes, I have feet problems. The muscle in my feet is like bad or hurts. She's like, yeah, I'm gonna have to go to the doctor. It's been like $400. And I was like, oh, okay, let me try praying for her feet. And I tried praying for her feet and nothing happened. I was like, oh, come on. She's like a Catholic and she's right there. I was like, okay, it didn't work. Try again later. And I ran across her later in the shift. I was like, okay. So I try to think, if God's not doing something, that means he has a plan. It doesn't mean he's just dumb. God's not dumb. He's perfect and unlimited in wonderfulness and beauty. I was like, all right, so why wouldn't God help this woman who's very clearly a loving Catholic? Like, hey, buddy. She's like, yeah. You got any other health issues? And she names 5 of them. Feet's 1. It's like back and knee, something normal. And then like 2 I'm not going to mention because they're private. If you're a girl, you can guess the kind of 2 or 3 things you wouldn't mention, or you wouldn't want me to mention. And so we do the whole thing. I do all 5 of them like twice, and I pray really hard for her feet. And I'm like, how are your feet? And she goes, feel a little better. And we do the second round. I'm like, can you find any pain? And she goes, no. So pretty darn cool. What's funny is I found out the team people I work with at work are like being really overproductive. And I wonder if that's because they're all getting healed. So I really want to start going to everyone at work and being like, hi, can I pray for you? But I need to be careful. I'm going to try and get one of the managers on my side just in case something goes awry. There was another guy at work, but I need to get back from him. He had like 2 knee braces on. And I was like, hey, can I pray for you? And he's like, sure, whatever. And oh my God, I love. Yeah. He's just cool. He's like old school cool. But yeah, that's 55. Oh no, there's more. There's 2 of my neighbors. Turns out they had a stroke. Both of them had a stroke. Prayed for them. Nothing yet. We're gonna try again in a week. So that's everyone. Wow, that's 40. Oh, that was a long time. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Still got to get kind of like 1/5 the way there. But so here's my plan. I'm going to put my Venmo at the end of the video. And if you want to donate, just so you can see videos of this happening, please feel free. It is a nonprofit, so it's tax deductible, right? I need to get a tax person tomorrow. And then if you want me to fly out and meet you somewhere, I have a little bit of money right now for this nonprofit to draw from, because I need to get a car, but we can talk. I cannot get paid to fly and heal. Like if you want to help me with airfare or food, or if you have a couch to sleep on, or you want to put me in a hotel, or just send me back to the airport when we're done, all that is great. So usually that's not expensive right now. Like I went to California and came back for like a couple $100, and it was pretty last minute too. It was like 2 weeks before. And I went to, I think when I went to Oregon and I bought tickets like 4 days prior, it was only like $300 a ticket. So yeah, as long as there's no like emergency. And I'm also willing to try FaceTime to see if I can do it remotely. I haven't had luck yet, but I don't want to rule it out yet. So yeah, you can contact me at Hyperlight Contact, and I'm more than happy to. And I have 1,000 followers now, so I can go live, so you can get people to help and pray. But yeah, thank you, God, for giving me this time to get this message out. Please let it be well received. Please let me not have put my foot in my mouth too much. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So I am starting the Paladin Corps. So if you're interested in having the gifts of the Spirit, get yourself straight with, you don't have to be perfect, but like, this is where we're going. We'll say starting in the beginning of the year, I'll definitely be bringing people on. I just need to kind of establish this church/website first and develop kind of the routine of putting videos out and stuff. But if you're interested, start ramping up. Try a local pastor first. Just someone you feel is authentic. Get them to put their hands on you and pray that you get the gifts. because I will only give them to people who are going to like adhere to God and work with me. There's a lot of people who just give it to you and let you go. I'm open to doing that as I talk to God, but I also have what's called the office of the prophet. So I have a certain authenticity responsibility that I have to maintain. And basically the philosophy is this: the people I work with have to have enough self-control that we don't look like blathering idiots. We can't be all hyper running around. We have to be consistent, and we can't detract or make a fool out of Christianity, as it's easy to make a fool out of Christianity, as all of us are aware. So I love you guys, and I'm trying to really refine all this, but if you really, really want to be a paladin, all you got to do is be attentive to the way of God. So like, cussing kind of has to go. Like it's not the end of the world, but like porn, definitely a no-no. Cheating on your wife, definitely a no-no. We're doing the whole 9 yards here. You want to do sex before marriage? That's great. I'm not going to help you. Same with pro-life. Like, I'm sorry. Talks about Jesus and his friend John the Baptist. It says they could tell when each other was in the room and close by. Like, so we know the spirit is in the womb. Not trying to break anyone's heart. Just, I'm trying to be realistic with y'all. But, that being said, if you're very pro-choice, we can talk about maybe praying and bringing about more birth control. Because if we ask God, there'll be better and more accessible birth control. And in case you didn't know, in Texas, if you can't afford to have the kid, Texas pays for it. I didn't know that, but happened to a friend. Dad took off, didn't have the money. Texas paid for the bill, all of the bills. So I thought that was pretty fair. If you're not gonna, if you're gonna say that's not an option, you better back it up. I thought that was pretty righteous. Anyways, if you don't agree with anything, say so. If you hate me, you hate all this, say so. Probably be more effective to say it to God. But I'm definitely not trying to force you into anything. I just wanted to show proof. Pray for the changes you want to see, guys. They happen. Yeah.